Hello everyone and welcome to another entry in our Community Cast series. In this game we're going to have a showdown between Kyrie, who's going to be playing the Beastmen, and he's going to be facing off against Attila, who's going to be playing Norsca, led by Wulfric the Wanderer. So guys, let's jump right into this game and take a look at the army compositions, and we can go from there. So for the Beastmen in the front line, they appear to have all Ungor Spearmen herds. So these guys will make a decent fodder unit against Norsca. They do have an anti-large bonus, so against mammoths and skin wolves and Fimir and all that stuff. And they also do have charge defense against large foes. So if a big mammoth comes rushing in and they are indeed braced, they'll be able to mitigate that charge bonus. But it was clear he was kind of skimping out on his front line by getting these cheap Ungor Spearmen herds so he could afford all of these Minotaurs. So he does have the new regiment of renown, the Butchers of Kalkengard, this cowhide Minotaurs with shields, I believe. Yes, it's with shields. But they have pretty good stats nonetheless, and they do have regeneration, guys. So regeneration is an extremely powerful stat, and I don't think Norsca is going to bring fire damage, although maybe they did. Let's go ahead and check just so we can be right on that. So they did bring a Fimir Balefiend. I saw him in the loading screen, but he's lurking somewhere. Maybe he's in the shadows. Oh, there he is. He's hiding amongst the Berserkers. So he actually does have shadows. So the regeneration of those Butchers should be fine. But regardless, he does have the Minotaurs with shields here, and thankfully they do have shields because, again, Norsca does have javelins as well as hunters and a lot of, pretty good missile pressure against large units. So having the shields, especially silver shields, is going to be very nice. Regardless, with that heavy armor-piercing damage and the big mass, they would be really good and kind of in the same way that Cryptors are. They're going to be able to get in front of mammoths and kind of muck them down and keep them from stomping all over your troops. On top of that, he does have some great weapons here. So the Minotaurs with great weapons having a pretty large anti-large bonus. Let's check here. It's 24. So again, a lot of anti-mammoth play right here. You can see he does have these Minotaurs here, the Butchers with their regeneration, and the two Minotaurs on the far side. So a ton of anti-large. So if the Norscan player is not careful with Wulfric the Wanderer, he is going to get beaten down by those great weapons. But aside from that, he does have Gorbel here, another pretty good choice. It's good versus Skinwolf Werekin. It's good versus mammoths. Just a very solid unit all around. Granted, you have to be really careful with all these Minotaur type units that the opponent does not get effective javelin play on you. He does also have a Brave Shaman with Death here, so he does only have a Spirit Leech and Purple Sun. And guys, this is one of the best maps to bring those abilities on, because if you guys look, like right now, you can see this Beastman army is marching down. If the other player, for example, had the Dwellers Below and cast it right here, it would massacre like half of his army. So I've seen some interesting replays where people have actually used like a Hell Cannon and auto aimed, like when they're coming down the lip here, and it is devastating. On top of that, he does have Morkur the Shadowgave, obviously the most competitive choice for the Beastmen, and he's a lot of fun too. He does have the Staff of Ruinous Corruption here, so you guys got to make sure to bring that. It has 2 charges, and it's only activatable when he's in combat. So it starts on cooldown, and as soon as he starts fighting, it starts rolling. So on top of that, he does have some Ungor Raiders here in the back, and he actually has several groups of Baconators. So the Baconators, they have big mass, and I wonder how they would do in obstructing a mammoth. So it looks like a ton of anti-mammoth stuff here, but regardless, they have decent armor piercing themselves. So if he does have some champions, it doesn't look like he does though. So regardless, the Baconators, a little bit of hit and run, and what's their charge bonus actually? Let's look. So it's actually 46, so they can do some shock damage as well. So for the Norscan player, he does have some deep Vanguard over here. So he has the Maws of Savagery as well as some Skinwolf Werekin. And then I didn't know that the Skinwolf Werekin actually had a Vanguard deployment. That's pretty cool, does it? Yeah, I guess so. So that's pretty neat, having a heroic unit that can Vanguard with your Skinwolves. So they're pretty far away, unfortunately. So the fighting could definitely start, long before they get there. But still good choices nonetheless. Yeah, they're pretty far back there. So he does also have Wulfric the Wanderer for his lord. He has Seafang and the Sword of Torgvald, which gives that 22% damage, and a ton of Berserkers. So the Berserkers here are going to massacre those spears. Granted, the Berserkers will struggle a little bit against some of those backline units like the Butchers of Kalkengard, although the Butchers have pretty low armor, so I suppose they're going to be pretty strong, across the board in this matchup. He does also have a second Skinwolf Werekin, one of the strongest aspects of Norsca, hands down. Anti-large, armor-piercing regeneration, pretty good fight against the Gorbel. I think Gorbel wins straight up in like a 1v1, but it's pretty good. The Skinwolf Werekin, I think, let's see his speed. He's 65, and Big Daddy Gorbel is rocking, let's see here. I want to get this right. So Big Daddy Gorbel somewhere in here with the heroic units. He actually has 58, so it is actually faster than Gorbel's. Interesting. And in the back, he does have some Marauder Spearmen, so these guys are going to provide some anti-large, which is going to be very helpful against the Minotaurs if he can get them tied down. Some Armored Skinwolves here, definitely not a bad choice, but the Minotaurs with great weapons should trade pretty efficiently with those guys. So without further ado, let the games begin. My one initial critique of Norsca is, I don't know, although you don't necessarily need javelins and things like that, but, it's definitely helpful to have, like, at least 1 or 2 groups. They're pretty good against, like, Gorbels and, just give you some good utility against the Beastmen who do have some large units. But nonetheless, he does have a very scary front line of Berserkers and, of course, having Wulfric and all these guys, but these guys are going to need to get here quick. The Skinwolf Werekin and the Maws of Savagery, they are on the absolute far side of the battlefield. This is definitely a pretty scary Beastman army, and this is a good opportunity for him, considering how bunched up this player is to get the Purple Sun of Zera. So it looks like he's getting his Deathcaster in shape right here, and perhaps he's going to cast it. I hope he does. because it's kind of just a standoff right here. Granted, the Beastmen player does have some Ungor Raiders, so he's probably going to want to pull those guys up like he's doing right now and just start shooting at these Berserkers and, you know, getting a lot of free kills. Berserkers are quite lightly armored with only 15 armor, just wearing some wolf pelts and different things like that. So they're going to take a lot of damage from this very, very cheap Ungor Raider group. So I like that the Beastmen player brought one of those. Very nice. But in the back, you guys can see the Skinwolf Werekin and the Maws of Savagery are coming in pretty hot. So clearly, the Norscan player is probably waiting for them to get a little bit closer before he engages. But you can see, oh, that was very nice. So you can see Attila up there actually using Sea Fang and doing some good damage to the front line. You can see these Ungor Spears took about 20% and about 35%, give or take, on their total HP. Getting some kills as well. So Sea Fang is really strong, guys. It's probably one of the best aspects of Wulfric. If you get like sideways, if he had used Sea Fang like right down the middle, it would have taken them all down to about half health. It's kind of like a little bit of a tuned down version of Winds of Death that you can use 3 times, and it's on a very short cooldown. So you can see the Norscan Berserkers here are taking quite a bit of work, but the Maws of Savagery and all these other strong units are coming in, but you can see right here, he's getting his spears. So he actually has, oh, I forgot to point these out. He has the Destroyers of Drakewald, the Regiment of Renown for the Ungor Spearmen, so pretty cool stuff. Berserkers are coming down the hill. They're definitely pretty angry, and they got some cool animations. But man, this is going to be some stuff. So you can see the Butchers of Kalkengard coming in doing their somersaults, and what they're going to be tough for these guys because the Butchers have really high melee defense. Number one, they actually have 58, and on top of that, they have regeneration. So a lot of the damage that the Berserkers are going to kind of chip away on them, the Butchers are simply going to regenerate that HP. So I really like the inclusion here, and there's no javelins to punish them. So it's going to be a field day for those guys. So on the other side, you can see the Skinwolf Werekin coming in, the armored ones, and they have engaged with some of the Baconators. So they're going to just wreck those Baconators. You can see they took massive shock damage. They're at about, almost half health just after like 1 or 2 seconds of fighting. They raised the support of some of the Berserkers, and the Skinwolves do have anti-large, so they're going to trade pretty atrociously with some of these Minotaurs here. I hope that's a real word. But you can see some of the spears coming down for the Marauders, and a nice pit of shades coming in from the Fimir Balefiend right in the middle of all these guys, doing some big damage, actually. Although I don't know if those Baconators were already damaged. You definitely want to use that on top of infantry and things like that. So Wulfric the Wanderer has kind of engaged here. He's going after some of these great weapons, as long as he doesn't get surrounded by the great weapons. Like if Wulfric is always surrounded by Marauder Spears and Berserkers and things like that, he's going to be relatively safe because the Minotaurs will have trouble pushing through all that infantry. But it looks like some of the great weapons are attacking him, so he's taking a little bit of damage, actually. Lost about 2,000 HP. But nonetheless, he is definitely massacring those low-tier troops. And like we kind of guessed before the game, a lot of the Ungor Spearmen herds are just being absolutely put down by these Berserkers. And of course, Wulfric is doing a good job of like terror-wrapping them. Over here, you can see the Ungors, as well as the Baconators, have actually routed off. But nonetheless, you can see the Minotaurs are really generating good value. They're just kind of tanking these guys, and even against the spears, they're just so durable. So they're really... I love Minotaurs. I remember when the Beastmen first came out, like how exciting it was to see them do somersaults through like the battle lines and everything. But nonetheless, they're doing quite good for themselves. They actually have 47 kills, but they're actually starting to get a little bit beat up. So I think that's a lot of the Marauder Spearmen who do have 20 weapon strength, plus I think a bonus of large, like 15 or give or take. So they're still going to be a menace. But what's really going to be strong here is if Morker actually gets a Spirit Essence of Chaos off on these really injured Marauder Berserkers, he's going to be able to really turn the tide of this fight over here. So you can see Wulfric the Wanderer is actually going after Mork here, and Wulfric's pretty darn scary on a Mammoth. I mean, he does have an anti-infantry bonus, I think, but I think it's only actually a 5. The Mammoths, it's weird. They have a bonus for his infantry, but it's only of actually 5, which is strange. But he does pop the Sword of Torgwald right here, putting up to 553, and he does cast the Hunter of Champions on Morker. So if he's able to get some good attacks on Morker here, that's going to be pretty rough for the Beastmen player. But a lot of the Minotaurs are pretty beat up, but the Butchers are still standing strong, pretty resolute, but he does get a very timely Chaos Spawn right behind these Marauder Spearmen. So their leadership is down to, what is it? They're 25 right now, man. So that really tanked. So they're going to probably be able to rout off these Spearmen with the support of Morker. Granted, Morker is taking a ton of damage from Wulfric the Wanderer up here. So definitely some wild stuff. Looks like some of the Ungor Raiders in the back have come back, and they're now firing at Wulfric. The Fimir Balefiend is actually fighting over here as well. So Fimir Balefiends are pretty cool, and he's actually racked up 50 kills, which is quite a bit. He has that Armor Sundering and the magic attacks, and it looks like he does have Enfeebling Foe, Pit of Shades, and I can't quite see that other ability. It's kind of always like, I wish it would just stay on the tooltip. So I know I'm missing pertinent battle time for you guys, but the Withering, so leadership and armor, that's what it was. So another Sea Fang goes down and kind of clears up some of these troops. So Wulfric is starting to get quite low. He's at about, like 10%, give or take. His leadership is steady. It seems like, I don't know if his leadership's actually better when he's on a Mammoth. I don't think it is, but you can see Big Daddy Gorbel as well. Some of these Minotaurs are jumping on him, and he's taking a ton of damage. He's wavering. He's at about 1,000 HP, and it looks like he's probably going to have to just tuck and run here. Granted, when a lot of these Chaos Spawns start to degenerate, and some of the Norscan troops do come back from rout, it looks like he does have some Berserkers, a very healthy group of 57 who are going to get in here and just start cutting up these Ungors. And this is exactly where they want to be, just massacring cheap, lightly armored units. That's where they're really going to thrive. And let's see, do they have Enrage? It looks like it doesn't look like it's stacked up yet, because this isn't the tooltip. It would be down here if it had. So I think they were actually over chasing something on the far side of the map, and they finally came back. So it looks like a lot of the Norscan troops have come back in the fourth quarter. So some of those skin wolves were probably chasing some routing units. Now they're back. So the armored skin wolves are fighting some of these minotaurs with great weapons. A little bit of Godzilla versus King Kong action. I pretty much just say that whenever anything big fights one another. The Gorbals at about half health, and let's see what else they got. So that Famir Balefiend's in good health, and the Skinwolf Werekin, that thing is an absolute terror. So all these really low life minotaurs, you can see there's only 3 of them right here. There's 2 Skinwolf Werekins alive, 2 of them. So that's going to be pretty tough. Granted, this one actually does get shattered by some of these minotaurs with great weapons right here. Not shattered, but he actually gets terrified and broken. So, but he may be able to run off and then come back. Over here, the Skinwolf's in pretty good shape, and the Famir Balefiend is also sundering the armor of Morker, who actually puts him down to 0. So a very, very dicey situation. It's just absolutely down to the wire, this battle. Up on the high ground, you can see there's some Norscan troops retreating. Doesn't look like they're going to be coming back. But the Skinwolves up here, there's 4 of them, and they're not really near their healing cap. So they're probably going to regenerate another 800, 900 HP and potentially come back. Over here, these Skinwolves right here. Unfortunately, the Maws of Savagery for the Beastmen player. They do have 8 models left and still not near their healing cap. So a lot of forces coming back, as well as some spears, which are going to be very, very impactful for all these minotaurs. So Morker is going to need to get these spearmen down, get them down another maybe 10%, give or take. And then from there, oh, look at that, was pretty cool. That Gorbal just like headbutt that Skinwolf and put him down. But he's going to need to get these guys a little bit lower and then get another Spirit Essence of Chaos. There's some Norscan Berserkers in the back line coming in, and still those Ungor Raiders are still appear to be generating some pretty good value against some of these large targets. But the Maws of Savagery are down to 4 models. You can see the Butchers of Kalkengard still regenerating and still fighting, up to 72 kills, and another Spirit Essence of Chaos popping on some of those low-tier spearmen. So man, what an incredibly close fight. And I think Wolfric the Wanderer is just off, pretty much offline for the most part, but Gorbal seems to be doing pretty well, although he does have Enfeebling Foe, so his stats are pretty poor right now with 0 melee defense. So that Skinwolf Werekin is going to do some serious work, and you can see that that Butcher of Kalkengard, the one that's left, actually just knocked that Skinwolf Werekin back. That was pretty gangster. And up on the high ground, what do we have? We have some Skinwolves, some Spears. I think Wolfric actually just is completely gone. Unfortunately, the Norscan player does have 66 Marauder Berserkers up there, which if he had gotten back to that battle right there, man, that would have made a huge difference. They probably would have been able to put down the Gorbal and maybe do a little bit of work against the Butchers. That's really unfortunate for him that he left those guys up there. The Skinwolf Werekin is indeed running off. It's broken, so the Beastmen squad right here is just fighting to the death, and that last Butcher, just a true testament to how durable this unit is. I can't believe it's still fighting with only 1 model left, but I guess it's a really close fight. So the Destroyers of Drakbald are coming back, and these guys do have poison, so that poison application is going to be really nice against that Famir Balefiend. You can see that Skinwolf Werekin coming in. They're never truly defeated here, or the regular Skinwolves, and they'll be able to put down some of these Chaos Spawns. You can see that one got pushed back pretty bad there. Damn. And I think there's also a Skinwolf Werekin leading this little pack, and he's back up to about 1,000 HP. So man, those things are just incredibly tenacious. But the Beastmen forces are coming in for kind of the last apocalyptic stand. Both of the army balances are, well, not both of the army balance, but the army balance is about 50-50 right now. So it's pretty hard to tell who's going to win. Looks like there is indeed a spell going down. So let's see what it is. I think it looks like some sort of is that a vortex ability coming down from the Deathcaster? So you can see the purple sun. It looks like it's actually tugging the Destroyers of Drakbald more than the other units. So maybe a little bit risky there, but nonetheless, it looks like the Beastmen player is able to take that battle. So man, what a great fight. Really cool showcase of the Minotaurs too. Like this one group, yeah, they really got put down, because again, they were fighting against Spears, and Berserkers will do well against the light armor Minotaurs, even though they're not a big unit. The Marauder Spears were obviously pretty good, and the Skinwolves trade really efficiently with them. But, it's a pretty back-and-forth trade, and those Butchers of Kalkengard really performed there. I mean, they fought to the end. At one point, they had like 15 or 20 kills, and I didn't really think they were going to get very far for themselves, but really, they proved to be quite valuable there in the end. A big part of the Beastmen victory was obviously being able to kind of take out Wolfric on that big mammoth. A lot of HP there, about 10 or 11,000, but he was able to apply pretty good pressure with the Ungor Raiders, and of course get the Minotaur Horde as well as the Gorbal on him. So that was very well played there. 162 kills in that Famir Balefiend, so maybe he did have some sort of a Pit of Shades that really did a ton of damage there. That's pretty heavy duty. Obviously, Skinwolf Werekin's quite strong. And the Baconators, I mean, he might have been expecting Marauder Champions. Sometimes when I play Beastmen, I'll bring Marauder Champions myself to kind of counteract Bestigors and just make sure I have some answers for armor. But the fact that, what was I going to say? Yeah, so the Baconators are kind of the intuitive, maybe counterpick to that, but still, didn't pan out this time, unfortunately. There wasn't too much armored infantry for those poor piggies. But regardless, very well played to Dai Kyrie as well as Attila. Thanks again for sending in the replay, guys. And hey, hopefully you guys enjoyed the game. Got more content coming soon, and have an excellent night.